a basic 30-minute total body stretching video that I'm bringing to you. It will feature some good stretches for the entire body. This is recommended for after you do a little bit of exercise, get your blood flowing, get some circulation going, or it's great to use if you've been sitting all day and you just need a little bit more movement through stretching, through mobility. So let's get started. So go ahead and meet me down on the floor, and we're just going to be on the floor. Take your knees out really wide, and that means wider than shoulder width. I'm using a standard yoga mat here, so that might be all the way to the edges of the yoga mat. I'm going to bring my big toes together and send my hips back, back, back. So just relax the chest down, relax through your shoulders. Take the forehead down to the floor, and let's breathe here for about 8 breaths. So as you just settle in here, you're going to feel your tailbone just relax down, your lower back begin to soften. And if you have lower back pain or lower back tension, this is a great just stretch to let gravity kind of just align everything, pull it down. So just take one more breath here. Good. And then we're going to just slowly, very, very slowly come up. I'm going to slide your right leg forward, okay? Taking on about a 90-90 split. So 90-90 from knee to hip, and then ankle to knee, right? So if it's uncomfortable for you, you can just slide that foot in, but if you can, that 90-90 split, rotating your chest forward. Now we're stretching into the side glutes, into the hips. So just breathe here again for about 6 to 8 breaths. And as you stretch, it's really important to breathe. When you breathe, you slowly soften. You let go just a little bit more, allowing yourself to really feel and deepen the stretch. And in this breathing, it's in through the nose and out through the nose. So just nice and slow, nice and calm, nowhere to go. Good, and slowly come up. Take your time coming out. Switch to the other side. So again, 90-90 split here is your setup, sitting down nice and soft on that side glute, and then 90-90 split. Take it down, and again, if you need to slide that leg in a little bit, feel free to do that, right? Your hip mobility, meaning the flexibility and range of motion in your hips, will dictate how your 90-90 goes here. So just be gentle to your body. And again, each breath, just try to focus on softening. Try to focus on taking the stretch just a little bit deeper. And slowly, slowly come out. All right, so we're going to go back to the other side here. Coming back into all fours. And then I'd like you to take your hands outside of your shoulders, step your right foot in between your right hand, and let's let that hip flexor come down just a little bit. So as we do that, right, you can have some supportive devices. So here I've got a ball, right? You can use a pillow, you can use the side of your couch, but by putting some weight on this ball, I want you to watch how my hip comes down just a little bit more, right there. So just allowing that space into the hip flexor. So again, the ball is your option. Your hands are an option. A pillow, a yoga block is also an option. You want your chest nice and proud. And again, we're breathing right through the stretch. Good. And then let's take it back now. So we've gotten into about a 6 to 8 breaths. Now we're going to send the hips back. Pull the toes with you, and you're going to find length on the back of your leg, your hamstrings. And hamstrings are usually a tight one for people. So if you need to, like every so often, just kind of bend that knee up, release, and then come back into the stretch. You don't have to hold it to the point where you're in pain, but you want to be slightly uncomfortable. And when that uncomfortable place becomes too intense, just release it. Really think about that nice hinge from your hips. Hip flexor's getting a little break here, and then let's slowly come back. So we're going to hit that hip flexor again. So you are here, and that hip starts to soften down. If it feels right for you, bring your hands up overhead, and then just relax. And that's really where we find that stretch, right in that space right there. Nice high chest, hip flexor beginning to open, lengthen. We don't move very much through the frontal plane, and so that hip flexor gets very, very tight right here. And it can actually put a lot of pressure here as it begins to get tighter and tighter. So sit your hips back to hamstrings again. So my encouragement to you is to stretch your hip flexors often, every single day, maybe even twice a day. If you do that post-exercise when you're really warm, you're going to feel some space open up in there. You're going to feel some more, an adjustment for the lower back. Slowly release, come down, and we'll do the other side. So I'm going to just stay on this side. So extend your arms outside of your shoulders. Put your foot inside of your hands, and it's okay if it doesn't make it there. You can pick it up and move it, right? You want to make sure that you've got a 90 degree from ankle to knee. That way you're really supported, really aligned. And then again, coming up slowly, so letting the hips drop. I went from being very rounded to then very much more open. And again, we're going to do this twice so you know the deal. The first round is just kind of like what's going on, right? So I'm going to use the ball here in the assisted place just to help me stretch, to help me soften down through the hips a little bit. You use or do whatever works for you. Letting that tailbone just sink down, down, down. Starting to feel just a little bit better, so I'm going to get rid of the ball. And then go ahead and send your hips back. Getting into your hamstrings feels really good. So as we stretch, remember not every side is equal. Both sides are not equal to each other. We have a side that we favor a little bit more. And so if you find that you're not as flexible or it doesn't feel right or as right on one side, that's okay. You're trying to create balance in your body through stretching. So use that, right, as a little bit of a motivation or a challenge. Whatever you do on the right side, you want to try to do on the left side to whatever degree you can handle, okay? Slowly come back out. So we're going to set up for really good alignment. Knees in line with hips, the width of your hip. Knee in line with ankle for that nice support. Now, drop my hips down, bring my arms up, and then just settle. And again, here I'm opening now my right hip flexor. So that's closed off to the camera view here. But I'm opening through my right hip flexor. I'm also creating a little bit of tension in through the left quad. Teaching that to fire a little bit. Teaching that to build a little strength through tension here. Letting the tailbone soften down and then slowly sending it back. If you have knee issues here, I encourage you to use a towel. Put a towel down underneath you. If your surface is really hard, you're going to feel that And we're above the kneecap and below the kneecap here. So I'm not right on the top of my kneecap. I'm literally about right here if you line that up. But please use something. Fold your mat in half. Use a towel. Whatever it is that you need, use that. Okay? All right. So we've got a little hamstrings opening. We've got the hip flexors open. Now we're going to use down dog to stretch. So extend your arms, tuck your toes, and lift your hips. And what we're doing here is we're opening up the hamstrings and we're opening up that lower back. So when we sit all day, when we are inactive, our tailbone becomes out of alignment or tilts forward or backwards, that posterior or anterior tilt. So just breathe. And if you notice the shape now of my back in that down dog, my eye gaze is towards my knees, so I'm really, really gentle on my neck. But you notice my lower back is really extended and it's nice and square in line with my shoulders. That's perfect alignment. So my heels are lifted, their knees are soft. And I'm really just breathing into that space in the lower back. At the same time, I can pedal. I can lengthen my heels down to the floor, and I'm getting a little bit of length through my hamstrings, and that's what we want. So we're going to take it slowly down. We're going to sit the hips back and align the shoulders over the hips. Relax. Shake your wrists out, and we're going to do that one more time. So I often hear about people having tension or pain in their wrists. Here's why. If you're putting all the weight into your wrists, you're overextending, overflexing your wrist. What I want you to think about is kind of taking on that Spider-Man approach. So use the pads of your fingers to really press down and watch how that helps release that tension in your wrist. So let's try that. Extend your shoulders a little bit forward. Pads of the fingers down. I'm not able to wiggle my fingers as I push my hips back. My fingers are pressing down. And it takes a little bit of time to get used to if you're not used to that, right? There's a lot of pressure and weight on that upper body. It's about evenly distributed here, but people are not used to, and we are normally not walking upside down like this. So this takes a little bit of pressure into the shoulders, a little bit of pressure into the hands. Now breathe. Now I want you to lift your belly button up and in. Focus on your breath. And we'll slowly come down. Awesome. Same thing. Send the hips back, just wiggle it out, finding our balance now. We just went from an inversion, meaning our head was lower than our heart. So take your time here. Be mindful that your balance might be a little bit off. We're not used to that. Okay? All right, from here, we're going to take it back to that, close to that 90-90 split. So I'm sitting down on my right side glute, or my right butt cheek here. And I want you to then slide your heel in if you can. So slide your heel into the midline and then begin to come up and over the hips. Now, if I move my foot, there's space through my hips, meaning I'm not sitting all the way down. Did you see that? I'm actually above my hips. And so we want to point that left toe long. I'm going to flex my right heel just a bit to protect my outside of my knee. And then I'm going to come down. And this is what we would call pigeon pose, but it's so good for the hips. Again, we are allowing, as we kind of press down here, we are allowing a little bit more alignment of the tailbone to come down to release tension in that lower back. We're also opening up the side glute and hip on the right side. So I want you to breathe for your 6 to 8 breaths. You can always use a supported device here if you need it, meaning a pillow, a yoga block. If this is too much and you find that your neck is rounded, you've got to come up a little higher. You can still hit this stretch, but you can come up a little higher. And if flexibility allows you, right, you can extend your arms out and come down. And then slowly take your time, come all the way up. All the way up. So now we're gonna what you can do here is you can either sit down. So I'm gonna show you this option. You can sit down. You can grab the back of your leg and pull the heel into the glute. And what you're gonna feel here, if you just, again, settle in for a couple breaths, is you're gonna feel the quad muscle stretch. Okay, one of the quadricep muscles beginning to stretch. If you are flexible enough, right, to come up here and stretch it, pulling your heel in, and maybe you can extend your arm out just a little bit. You're gonna get a great stretch for your quad. So we've got good alignment in the hips. Let them kind of soften down. You're gonna notice that the stretch intensifies as you do that. If you get to a point where this is not any longer enough for you, you have options to come up. Interlace your foot in between your elbow and take your mermaid. And then slowly come down, right? Send it down. Good. And I'm just gonna sit here for a second, release, and switch sides, right? So good. So we're gonna set up for pigeon. Now, if pigeon doesn't work for you, meaning this is not comfortable to come over the hips yet, you're like, I'm not there yet, sit down, bend your back knee just a little bit more. It's not quite like 90 degrees in the front, way out here. Bring it into the midline, this back leg, wherever it's comfortable, and this is where you'll start this stretch here. So I am now sitting down on my hip because I'm down on the floor, and my back leg is bent. If you're extended, I shifted so that I come above my hip, and I'm gonna pull my heel in towards my right hip flexor. Point my toe nice and long, and it takes a second to adjust. Remember, about 2 different sides here. And then as you soften down through your elbows, relax. Your eye gaze is down, so I don't want you looking up and craning your neck. Just neutral. Always keeping it neutral in the neck and spine. And what you'll feel is that tailbone just kind of sink down. You're feeling that left side glute kind of open up, some space, draw into the hip. This is one of my favorite stretches. It just feels so good, and we're just letting gravity really do the work here. We're not doing the work, we're letting gravity slowly come down. And we'll slowly take your time here. Slowly come up. Now again, you can bend and sit down, right? Bending that knee, grab the back of the foot, and stretch through the quad. So you just sit up nice and tall, pull the heel into the glute. If you're looking for a little more, and trust me, this is a little more, it's a lot more, right? You can stay right here. You can stay just right here. Or you can extend out into extended quad. Kind of pulling your elbow down. This feels pretty good on the quads. Or your option, right? Working on trying to interlace that foot in, softening the hips down just a little more. And again, you can take your mermaid or just your extended quad stretch. Take it where you need it. And then slowly, slowly, slowly come out. Sit the hips down. We're going to come back to the other side. So, want you to kind of create, I'm going to show you kind of just from the front. Want you to just create kind of a nice 90-90, but it doesn't have to be here. This is just really to a place of comfort for you. I want you to take your hand, place it, so I'm going to use my right this time. So my right leg is forward, my left leg is back. I'm going to use my right hand and I'm going to place it kind of right underneath my shoulder. So I've got good alignment of my joints. I don't want it way over here. I want it kind of lined up right underneath, right as I'm going down to the floor. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my left hand up, and I'm going to push off my right hand, shifting my hips forward and taking my hand to the back of the room. Where you're going to feel this stretches along your IT band. That's from your pinky down to the side of your knee. And let's slowly come down. We're going to bring the knees with you, meaning lift them up, bend the knees, reset, come to the other side, get your body set up, push off, lift up, and open through your chest. Feel that hip flexor push forward. That's here. Feel your IT band connect. And slowly come down. All right. So the lower body should be really good. Let's now check back in, pressing the hips into downward facing dog. So hands outside of shoulders, pads of fingers down, tuck toes, lift hips, gaze to the knees. So just check in with that down dog. Eye gaze is really, really neutral. And just kind of feeling some space. Now if you walk your feet a little closer together and then you take one heel up, you're going to just bring the bring the calves into the stretch. Good. So just bringing those calves in there. Again, neutral neck. You don't need to be up here. You need to be right here. And this will naturally put a little bit more pressure into the upper body. Remember to use your pads of fingers. All right, come down, push the knees back, and then let's kind of start to open up some of the front of the body. So we're going to take the hands behind you, interlace, and draw the shoulders back. And then just let your hands soften down. We're going to soften and press the shoulders out of the ears here. Good. And then just release. Nice and easy. So we just dropped our shoulders down. That's all we were doing there. Then take your right hand. Right hand, palm out. And we're going to extend our left arm. And as we're dropping the shoulders down, can you just very carefully, very carefully, very gently, I'm going to pull towards my left side. So I'm going to use that left arm, and it's literally, I'm not yanking, I'm not extending, I'm literally just using it as a little extra weight, stretching through the traps right here. So where I carry a ton of tension here. And we're going to slowly switch. So, show you this side here. Good. So your shoulders are dropped down, and if you need to do this, I encourage you to do this just to let go, right? Drop the shoulders down. So, taking now my left arm, taking my right arm. Now really dropping this left arm down. So we've got it pulled back, so it can go back into the shoulder blade, it can walk back into the spine. That's what we call shoulder packing. So we're going to extend. And slowly, very slowly release. Awesome. So you don't have to stay there long, but it's really good to just relax right here. This is where I hold on to a lot of tension. So if that position right there being down is uncomfortable for you because we were putting a little bit on the quads, just sit up, shake it out for a second. We're going to stretch the lower body. So I want you to pull your palms together, interlace your fingers, and then start to round through your upper back. Tuck your ears in line with your biceps, and this will help pull your shoulder blades apart. So tuck your chin in. And from here, we're just going to unroll and relax, right? Just relax. Perfect. One of my favorite ways to just stretch the shoulders here, we're going to take the right arm up, just to about 90 degrees here. I'm going to palm up, slide it through, and we just call this threading the needle. So ear comes down, top hand extends or can bend. So my knees stay in alignment with my hips. And I'm feeling the stretch on the side delts, the side of the shoulders. And this is so good. You just close your eyes and again, come back to your 6 to 8 breaths, just breathing. Beautiful. Slowly, very slowly take your time. So bring your hand close to your midline. Slowly push out. Again, you're going to feel your balance. You're going to feel your equilibrium challenged a little bit. Our head was just lower than our heart again. So let's lift that left arm 90 degrees. Palm up, thread it through, and you guys, the stretch is happening right here. So you'll see that extension. So just want you to breathe. Slowly take your time, sliding it back. Perfect. And then send your hips back. You can tuck your toes, wiggle, shake. All right, so now let's hit the triceps here. All right, so bring your right arm over, pat yourself on the back. Now you can, if you've got flexibility enough, you could interlace and use this to really pull open, but most of us don't have that. So I'm going to use my arm to just kind of pull my hand down my back. Pat yourself on the back. You know that your fingers are in the right place. And that is your tricep stretch. Tricep, small muscle group here. So a little stretch goes a long way. Slowly release and switch sides. So again, you can interlace. For me, one side doesn't really interlace well. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to use my hand to just, again, working back through that. And slowly release. Roll the shoulders back. Go ahead and sit down. This is for your chest. So we're in a nice easy pose here, meaning just finding your triangle sit bones. Relax. And then take your fingers to the back. So palms forward. And we're going to just open up here. Take a big breath into your heart space, opening up. And then exhale, slowly come down. So if you want a little more, what you could do is you can extend out. And as you press up, you're going to open your chest, work a little bit of your biceps here. Get that nice front of the body stretch. And slowly come down. So you could do that a couple times. I'm just going to do it one time for you. And then we're going to just return back to seated here, nice and easy. Just wiggle, shake your shoulders, kind of feel that circulation. And we're going to take our final 2 stretches here. And they're a seated twist. So right where you're at, please bring your hands up overhead. Take a big breath in. This is our lengthening. And then on your exhale, bring your left hand to right knee. Sit up very, very tall and twist to the back of the room. Slowly take your time, come out, shake it out, take a breath, and come to the other side. So the key here is sitting up nice and tall. We want to twist through the thoracic spine. That's the middle of the back. It's so good for rotational movements, right? Moving things right to left, right? Picking things up and doing a little bit of twisting through this middle of the spine. So we don't want to twist too much through here, and we certainly don't want to twist through the lower back. So we keep it right in the middle. So just shake it out again, and then let's take our big final breath in. And exhale, blow it out. Thank you so much for joining me for that full body stretch. Those are really basic things you can do every single day to improve your flexibility. You can add a little bit of cardio in or some type of movement before that, and then we start to get into a little mobility where you're moving through the stretch, you're rocking through the stretch, you're rolling through the stretch, you're feeling that heat allow you to sink down softer, deeper into the stretch. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.